This is Speaking of Writers. I'm Steve Richards. This is the Speaking of Writers podcast. I'm Steve Richards. The book is The Daughter of a Pedophile, and the author is Melissa Serigne. The Daughter of a Pedophile is about resilience, healing, and breaking the silence surrounding abuse. It aims to shed light on the long-lasting effects of trauma while empowering those affected by similar experiences to reclaim their voices, find their strength, and break free from the cycle of silence and shame. The book's message is one of survival. Happy to have Melissa Serigne join me now here on Speaking of Writers. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So why this book for you?
So for me, this book was a way to kind of illustrate my journey through getting justice for what was done to me as far as childhood abuse goes and dealing with trauma and how it affects you. This book helped me heal in such a way that I wanted to let others know they too are not alone and they can heal using their voice and utilizing their support systems.
Discuss the importance, Melissa, of speaking out about abuse and how silence can perpetuate trauma.
Absolutely. So when you are silent and you don't speak out about the abuse, you in turn kind of harvest all of those emotions inside of you. And when you don't let those out, I mean, that's going to affect how you go forward in life. And breaking the silence is kind of the first step in healing your own traumatic experience, whatever that may be.
Trauma has long-lasting effects always. You hear that all the time.
Absolutely.
How can sexual people who've been sexually abused, it affects one's emotional, mental, physical well-being too. Um, Childhood trauma, in your case, even more so.
Correct.
Yeah, talk about that
Correct.
a little bit.
Trauma has lasting effects. I mean, we go through childhood, and that's where we get most of our fundamentals that we bring into our adulthood. And when those fundamentals are broken, battered, and bruised, you go into adulthood with broken, battered, and bruised mindsets and habits and things that are really detrimental to yourself. And you don't realize that, you know, when you keep, like, again, you keep that trauma in, it's very detrimental to you. We don't speak up mostly because shame and guilt. You don't want people to judge you for what you've been through, but it's vital. It is so vital in healing and releasing some of those emotions and things that are kept within.
One of my favorite words always throughout my life has been resilience. And for you,
Resilience, yes.
it's such a great word. And how did resilience allow you to emerge stronger?
So through every challenge, I will call it a challenge, throughout my 16-year journey for justice, I had to keep my resilience and I had to keep my faith because without that, I couldn't go forward. You know what I mean? Like I had to keep that for myself. Like it gave me that inner strength. Like I knew I was going to get through it no matter what. And that resilience really helped me press forward and be the woman I am today. And I'm forever grateful for how resilient this has made me because not everyone comes out on the other end how they should, how they should if they heal themselves. You have to let go of that childhood trauma and all of those things you hold within and heal within so that the resilience and the light and the brightness of you can come out.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about healing, self-discovery, and talk about the process of healing after trauma, Melissa. What worked for you and what didn't work for you?
So for me, trauma and healing is not a linear process. You're going to go through moments and you're going to heal certain parts, and then, you'll have a triggering moment. And when you go through that triggering moment, that's when you really learn who you are and how you want to deal with that. You can either let that, say, for instance, it was a repressed memory that has come up. And in your healing process, you're now dealing with that repressed memory. Well, it's going to be very important for you to learn how to handle that and what to do in that aspect, because that ultimately is going to get you to your next healing journey. Because every part, it's like it's up and down and up and down, and you never are truly healed when it comes through from dealing with sexual trauma. It's something that lasts and lingers throughout your life. So it's very important to learn what to do and what not to do. And for me, it was journaling. I journaled a lot.
Mm.
I did therapy. Verbally speaking about what I went through was probably the number one most vital thing for me because I was silent till I was 21 years old. So that learning to use my voice and let out and know that that was okay to let people know who I was and what I've been through. And also, hey, you might have been through the same thing. Know that we're not alone because for a long time I thought I was alone. So healing is all about learning how to be with yourself in a way and how to manage those different little trigger points that come up. And some things work for others and some things don't.
Melissa, you
And
said
it's just about learning what.
you were 21. Was there a person who inspired you, an event, to discuss it at that point?
No, I think it came down to me being comfortable. I was
Mm.
no longer living in my childhood home.
Mm.
I was just older, and I guess I felt safe in the environment that I was in. And I will say that I was under the influence as I was intoxicated when I came out, and I think the liquid courage absolutely helped me in that moment. Um, but I don't change anything. I don't regret coming out. I don't, if I would have done it differently, no, I wouldn't have because at every chance that I thought I had the courage to come forward throughout my childhood when you'd have those little lights like you can do it, you can say what's happening. You kind of like don't. You get the insecurities like, oh no, I can't do it. I can't do it. And you have to get through that. And I think the way it worked for me and how it was, you know, just the series of events that went on, which will be illustrated in the book, and then you'll understand more of what I'm speaking of. But the series of events that occurred how they had to for me to come out in the time that I did.
And now with this book, you get to empower others. So how is it this book meant to be a tool for others to feel, to be seen, to be heard, to be understood?
I would like it to be used as not only inspiration, but maybe educational purposes and awareness, um, help you learn if you've been through trauma that you're not the only one that's been through trauma, for one. Teach you how to be resilient through every twist and turn. Show you faith, because at the end of the day, when you're dealing in the court system and the legal systems, there's a lot of delays. And with those
Yeah.
delays, there'll become a lot of disappointment. And you have to learn how to manage those disappointments so that you don't internally project it upon yourself. And it's this book, I hope, is a tool that is utilized for not only people who have been through trauma, but for individuals who have children to open up and express things to them, show them safe touch and make them more aware of, predators and what they do and how they groom children. I believe that this is going to be a great tool. And I really hope that the audience loves it.
And let's talk about the importance of community and support systems. I'm sure you had a really good support system. What is the significance of having a supportive community and the
It
importance
is
of
very significant that you have a community of whether it be family or friends or a
it?
combination of both. You have to have people to lean on because, like I said, healing is not linear. You're going to go through these moments of triggering, and you have to have people who are going to hug you and let you know it's going to be okay. You can make it through it. And if they're not in the vicinity to hug you, you have to have individuals who are going to pick up the phone and say, hey, you got this. Let all
Mm.
that go. You're going to make it through this moment. It's a moment. It's not a lifetime. It's a moment. And it's important. It's very, very important. And I was blessed to have not only my mother's side of the family, but a group of who I now consider friends through life. We've known each other from high school all the way until today. And if it wasn't for those two aspects, I probably would have never been sitting here to tell you my side.
Yeah.
It's very, very important.
How can readers use your
Especially,
good?
I'm sorry, especially you think about someone who has been traumatized and someone who has undergone abuse, they tend to be silent and they won't want to burden you with what they're going through or what they're thinking. So it's important to have people that you trust and people who know you and can tell, hey, I know you're kind of in your mind right now, like let's get you out of that. And that's what's the importance of it.
How can readers use your book to increase awareness around the issue of child abuse and sexual violence?
So I kind of touched on that just now, but I think it's going to be important for them to use the book and kind of learn ways to talk to kids and explain to them, the safe touches and what grooming looks like. And, some people, I do know we're in a sensitive time right now, and things are not always expressed how they should. We give things pet names like parts of our body. And I think it's going to be important in learning going forward and teaching your children to use the real words and know what an actual pedophile is and know what other people, what the characteristics are, and know also, most importantly, to tell an adult that you'll never be in trouble for telling the truth.
Mm.
Never. And I think that's what it needs to come down to.
Great
Opening
advice.
and creating a place of safety for your children to express to you if anything like this was to ever happen. Because I think at the end of the day, that's what I felt like I didn't have a safe
Mm.
place to tell because it was my biological father who abused me. So, of course, my childhood home didn't feel safe. And it took me to getting to a safe place. And that took me 20 till I was 21.
Mm. So this is your first book, right?
This is my first book.
So you think you'll write another one?
I may, yes, may have some ideas.
All right. She is Melissa Serigne. The book is The Daughter of a Pedophile. Now, this book is coming soon. Full
Yes.
disclosure, we're recording this on February 2nd. It is coming out, and it will be available on barnesandnoble.com, amazon.com, also writersrepublic.com too. And also, I think you said there's going to be a Kindle version of it too?
There will be a Kindle version of it as well as available for pre-order and order on my website, which the details should be finalized and hopefully released soon. Hopefully, I'm hoping within the next week for that. But the website will be illuminatechange.com, and that's where you'll get a little biograph of me and a biography of me, I'm sorry, and a little bit about the book, as well as use the link to pre-order yours.
All right, illuminatechange.com.
Yes, illuminatechange.com.
All right, she is Melissa Serigne. The book is The Daughter of a Pedophile. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate your time.
And this is the Speaking of Writers podcast. This is Speaking of Writers. I'm Steve Richards.